It's the beginning of a new year, which means it's time for a gear update. What I'll be taking to photo shoots, what I'll be traveling with, what I'll be using to film these videos. However, this year is going to be a little bit different than the years before, and that's because I plan to dive a lot more into video. I have a lot of spec projects I have planned that I want to film this year, which means my gear isn't going to be solely focused on photography. So today I'm going to show you all of the gear that I plan to use throughout this year, photo and video. Everything you see in this video, everything that we talk about in this video is linked down below if you want to check them out for yourself. First, let's just move these to the side and we'll talk about the most important part of the kit, and that is my camera bag. What I've been using for the past year is this Nanook NPVD 30-liter bag. Now, personally, I think this is the best bag I've ever used, hands down. I don't have plans to be changing this out anytime soon. It's super durable, super high quality. It's made of this material, and honestly, I've thrown this bag around without any worries of my gear in there. Now, moving on to the cameras for this year, we have the Sony a7 IV, which I've been shooting with for the past 2-3 years. Honestly, one of my favorite cameras is a 33 megapixel full frame sensor. There's a lot you can do with this camera, both for photo and video. At one point, this was the best hybrid camera on the market for the price. I've made plenty of videos on the Sony a7 IV going into depth, talking about specs, what I like about the camera, showing you photos and videos I filmed with it. So I'm not going to go into detail in this video here. I want to make this video somewhat fast because there is a lot of gear. However, again, great hybrid camera. There might be a possibility that I switch this out this year. If Sony releases the a7 V sometime this year, I most likely will upgrade to it. So if I do, you guys will be the first ones to know, and I might need to make a revise what's in my camera bag. But for the starting of the year so far, a7 IV. Now, moving on to the second camera, it's the FX30. Now, the a7 IV is a great hybrid camera for both photo and video, but I wanted to focus a lot on video last year, and I didn't get to the point that I want to get to this year. Now, some of the really great features about the FX30 and why I actually bought it is because of those filmmaking features that you'd want in a camera. It has shutter angle with the new update. You have tally lights all the way around the camera, so you know when you are recording and when you aren't recording. It has an internal fan, so you never have to worry about the camera overheating when you are shooting at 4K 60 or 4K 120. Now, you can also run this camera cageless if you wanted to. There's quarter 20 holes all the way around this camera, so you can adapt things like top handles, side handles. Now, I am using a cage on it right now, and that's because I have this V-mount battery that I want to run. Now, let's talk about lenses, because I truly think lenses make the biggest difference in your work. And this year, I have a lot of them. Like I said, I carry around 2 different lenses for each camera body. So let's talk about them. So the first lens is the Sigma 24-70 f2.8. Honestly, one of my favorite lenses. I feel like every filmmaker, videographer has this lens. Now, they did come out with the Mark II version, which I also made a video on. You can watch it, but I'm still rocking the original because I personally think if you have the original, there's no point of going to the Mark II unless you care about that fast autofocus. The 24-70 is an all-around great lens for everything: filmmaking, photos, portraits, landscapes, street photography, anything you can imagine. The 24-70 covers that range. If you are someone looking for your first lens to buy, I'd highly recommend a 24-70. Do carry another zoom lens with me, and that's the Sigma 16-28mm f2.8. And this lens, the only reason why I bought this lens is so that I can vlog on my full frame camera. At its widest, 16mm, I can put it on my a7 IV, hold it out an arm's length, and still get a very nice wide view. My face isn't taking up the entire screen, which is important if you are vlogging. Now, moving on to my prime lenses, which are some of my favorite lenses, and that's the Sigma 50mm f1.2. This is amazing. At 1.2, it's really good in low light, but also to get that shallow depth of field or that beautiful bokeh behind my subject. So I typically use these lenses if I want to get any like really close up details or product shots, but also for portraits, mostly for portraits. My other prime lens is my pride and joy, and that is the 35mm 1.4. If you've been on this channel for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you know that this is my favorite lens. I've had this lens when I was shooting with Canon. I sold my Canon, I switched over to Sony. I rebought this lens in the old version, and then I rebought it again in the new version, just because I truly, truly love the 35mm focal length. And at 1.4, again, you get that beautiful bokeh, a nice separation, and it's also really good in low light. One of my favorite lenses. Now moving on to the APS-C lenses for the FX30, the one I have on here right now is the Sigma 18-50 f2.8, and because you're on a crop sensor, after the crop factor, this lens becomes a 24-70. This is a great, super compact, super light lens for your setup. It doesn't have things like switches or a manual aperture ring, but it does the job. It's also very affordable. Now, after I bought the FX30, I thought, if this was gonna be my video camera, why don't I film any vlogs that I wanna do on the FX30? So I ended up getting this Sigma 10-18mm, which is essentially a 15 to 27mm focal length, which is perfect at 15mm, 16mm. It's perfect for vlogging. So the same thing, I can hold my FX30 out at an arm's length with this lens, and I can get a super nice wide looking image. Now let's talk about the other camera that I keep in my kit, and that's the Fujifilm X100F. So it is old, it's not fast, the autofocus is very slow, but I love shooting with this camera, especially because it's small. I can put it in my pocket, and it has a built-in flash, so you can get that nice film flash look, which I absolutely love. And you can also shoot with Fujifilm film simulations. So I can take a photo with this, transfer it over my phone, and post it. I don't have to worry about editing. You still get a very professional image out of this camera. Now, when I am traveling, I like to carry around a drone with me. This is a DJI Mini 4 Pro, and probably one of my favorite drones I've owned so far. It's nice and small. I don't need a special license. It falls within that weight category. I can use ND filters on it, and it lasts about 30 minutes. And if you have the Fly More combo, you have an extra 2 batteries. And so with this kit, I'm usually pretty good. We'll get to the rest of that. There's a lot of smaller accessories that are super important, because if I didn't have those, I honestly don't think I'd be able to get content, photos, or anything done. But in the meantime, we'll talk about some of the bigger stuff. My tripod that I've been using for the past year. I feel like tripods are something everyone wants to get right. They want a cheaper tripod, but something that's also not too big and something that's not going to break on them. Also something that's not heavy. And I'm going to say this, out of all the tripods that I've ever tried, this has to be my favorite tripod out of them all. So one of the reasons for that is because it's super lightweight. It's carbon fiber. It's also extremely small, similar to the Peak Design carbon fiber tripod, except it's like $100 or $200 cheaper than that one. It's Arca Swiss compatible. It's super high quality and super well made. It also folds out flat if you want to get super, super low to the ground. You can also flip the stem. I've actually influenced a lot of my friends to buy this tripod. My friend Taha, my friend Anthony, they all bought this tripod after I recommended it. Now, one of the most important things in any video, in this video here, is audio. And for the past 3 years, I've been using this same microphone. This is the Rode VideoMic NTG, and honestly, I love it. It's a shotgun style microphone. It has a safety channel. One of my favorite things about it is that you can adjust the gain just by twisting this knob at the back. So as you're filming something, just twist this knob and watch your audio levels to make sure you're not peaking. Now, sometimes I'm recording video a little further away from the camera, so a shotgun microphone like that is just not going to work unless you boom it. So throughout the year, I've been using these Hollyland microphones. These are a button style microphone. They're super small, and honestly, if you're wearing like a black shirt, you can't really see it. I purposely wore white just so you can see it, but this is essentially the case that it comes in. It's super small. It comes with a receiver and then 2 of these button style transmitters. The transmitters have a magnet behind it, so that's why you can just see that it's floating here. Now, that's not all for audio. This is a Zoom F2 field recorder, and it's super nice because it's small. You can throw this in your pocket, and then you can just lav someone up. But the best part about this is that it is 32-bit float, so you never have to worry about peaking your audio levels. Now, I did say that I wanted to get more into filmmaking this year, so I do have a lot more filmmaking gear than I did last year. Hollyland sent me this a few months ago, and these are the Hollyland Pyro S's, and these are 4K wireless transmitters. So how these work essentially is you can hook up the transmitter to your camera, and then you can hook up this receiver to, I'll show you. I'm using a monitor right here to watch me while I film, but you can essentially hook up this receiver to the monitor, and then you can hook up this transmitter to the camera, and then these two will talk together on the same channel. Now, the monitor that I'm using is also part of Hollyland's Pyro series. So this is a Hollyland Pyro 7. And the nice thing about this is it acts like a regular monitor. So you still have all your features like your importing LUTs. You can check your histograms and your scopes. You have false color, but it also acts as a built-in transmitter and receiver. And you can see that with the antennas right up here. So the cool thing is that I can actually use this monitor as a director's monitor, just use a transmitter. I don't have to use this, and this will talk to this monitor. I can also use it the opposite way, where I can use this monitor on this camera, and I can switch it into transmitter mode and then throw this receiver on another monitor or a TV screen or anything I want. And then that way I can still use this monitor, and then someone else can also see the video transmission through this and another monitor. So yeah, I really like this Pyro series by Hollyland, especially because of this monitor, but this will be a game changer for this year when I'm filming those spec projects. Let's get this out of the way. Now, to help me on these spec projects that I want to film throughout this year, and because we're talking about Hollyland, I'll talk about their solid comm system. So this right here is an intercom system made by Hollyland, and we actually used these throughout the year last year. Anthony was filming something with Lexus, and we used these to help him out with it. Essentially, an intercom system is a way that you can talk to your crew. It makes communication easier on set, and you don't have to be in the same room with the person that you're talking to, which is super nice. Okay, we're gonna get into all the other gear in this bag, and we're just gonna rip through this as fast as possible. Some stuff just doesn't need an explanation. First, we have SSDs. I always carry SSDs around with me because you never know when you have to transfer files over, especially when I'm traveling. I'll carry multiple SSDs on me. I also have YouTube projects and short form content on here that I need to edit while I'm away. Now, speaking about storage, I also carry this around. This is a PGY Tech Create Mate card case. And essentially, it's a card case that can carry 3 CF Express cards and 3 SD cards, but it also has a built-in card reader. So when I'm out traveling, I only need to carry this around instead of a card reader and a card case. Now, diving deeper into storage, I'm usually using these pro-grade CF Express cards. This one is a 480 gigabyte Iridium card. They're extremely fast, and it can handle high resolution video being recorded to it. Now, for photos, sometimes as a backup, I'm using these SanDisk Extreme Pro cards. They're super, super cheap. I think they're only like 20, 30 bucks, but they don't do the job when it comes to video. Also, just a reminder, everything you see in this video, everything that we talk about in this video is linked down below if you want to check them out for yourself. If you do purchase something through those links, I do get a little kickback to support the channel. So thank you ahead of time. I carry a power bank everywhere with me. You never know when you need to charge your batteries or phone or anything on the go. I carry this rocket blower made by Nitecore. This basically replaces the hand pump rocket blower. I also carry a little pocket light around. It's a super cheap Amazon RGB light, similar to the Aperture MCs. If I had to buy one today, I'd probably go with the Aperture MCs just because they last a lot longer, a lot more durable, and just made better. And now we have my filter pouch. This is just a super cheap filter pouch. It can only carry 3, and that's because 3 is all I ever need. So there's an ND filter in here, a CPL filter, and a black Pro Mist, which is great for that softer, more glowy look. I also carry straps with me. This one here is a Peak Design. It uses Peak Design anchors, so I can disconnect and connect these super fast. 2 more things. One is this Nanook tech pouch. This is my favorite tech pouch. I actually gifted my friend Taha one. I think everyone needs a tech pouch because of all this little small gear, cables, and stuff that exists. The most important here is I have extra HDMI cables for running monitors. I keep batteries in here, but most important is probably this small rig multi-tool. It has every single bit or every single end you could possibly use with building rigs out, tripod plates. This basically has everything you would need. Only like 15 bucks, so I highly recommend everyone to pick one up. I also carry around the DJI Osmo Action 4. I used to hate action cameras because when you used them, they would look like an action camera. However, this camera right here records video at 10-bit. You can record in D-Log so you can color grade it later. And the footage that comes out of this camera is absolutely amazing. I've honestly filmed some short reels and short TikToks with this camera and nobody ever questioned what it was filmed with. It just looks great. And I also carry around extra ND filters for it. Now, I recently picked up the iPhone 16 Pro and I'm gonna add it as part of my filmmaking kit because it can shoot really good video. It can do 4K up to 120 frames per second. It can also shoot Apple ProRes and it can shoot in Apple Log, so you can have better control when color grading later in post. However, to make this phone better, you need a little bit more equipment. So I picked up two things. So this right here is a SSD made by this company called Orco. This is a 2 terabyte SSD. It magnetizes to the back of the phone just using MagSafe. You connect it in, and then now you can record ProRes direct to that SSD. If you are recording 4K, 24 frames per second in ProRes internally, even with this 256 gigabyte model, I can only record for like 25 minutes. With the SSD, it's like 3 hours I can record for. So definitely a game changer. Now, I also recommend an ND filter with any camera you're shooting with. It essentially just mounts to the top of the phone, kind of like that. And it is a variable ND filter. So then you can actually have full control over your exposure, your shutter speed, and all of that. And with that being said, I think that's all the gear that I'll be taking to photo shoots, video stuff, filming content, traveling with. This is all of the gear. Now, this isn't going to be all in my camera bag at once. If I'm going to shoot a video, a lot of the photo stuff isn't going to come with me. If I'm doing photo stuff, a lot of the video stuff isn't going to come with me. I'm not going to bring transmitters and a fully kitted out video camera. It's just not going to happen. And if I'm traveling, it's going to condense even more than that. So this is essentially all the gear that I'll be using for the year 2025. Again, everything will be linked down below if you want to check it out for yourself. I do, again, get another kickback. The gear might change. Like I said, I might pick up the FX3. And if the A7 IV comes out, I might pick up the A7 V possibly. But you'll know about it when I do because I'll most likely make a video on it. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. And that's it.